We're with Josie Schoel. Josie is an adjunct professor at Endicott College. Hi, Josie. How are you?
Hey, I'm great. How are you doing?
Good, thanks. So tell us what it's like to be teaching undergrads in remotely at Endicott College.
Well, first off, I want to thank you for having me on here and thank you for the wonderful work your studio has been doing. It's been great to have these little digestible pieces of information for us on Facebook. I think a lot of people out there in isolation are probably watching them right now. So thank you so much for that. So it's been, of course, a challenge, as you might expect, this sort of mass exodus or this mass pivot from the traditional classroom to online spaces across the country and around the world, really. I think it's been, of course, it's been challenging for all of us professors and all of us teachers and the students as well. There's a number of different ways people are approaching this. Some professors are choosing to hold real-time Zoom classes. Some professors, like myself, are holding mini lectures that are pre-recorded and then uploaded onto our learning management system, which I find is working really, really well because it allows students to consume the information at their own pace and allows them to respond at their own pace also.
So I think some of them are in different time zones now, I'm assuming.
A few of them. I mean, at Endicott College, I think this was an important step. At the beginning of the semester, I took a survey of all of the students just to check in, about what time zone they're in, about their computer access, their internet access, about, the kind of time, space, and even energy that they have for the class. And then I also did check in about, safety concerns as well. But yeah, so for the most part at Endicott, they actually are all in the Eastern time zone, which is useful for sure. But I do have a few. I have one in Spain. I have a couple in San Francisco. So I think it's important to just make the class manageable so that everybody can engage at their own pace and at the times that they're able to.
And let's talk about what you're teaching.
So I'm teaching 3 courses. I'm teaching 2 composition courses. Endicott has a composition sequence. They have English 111 and English 112. So this is the second course because we're in the spring semester in that series. So 2 of those. And then I'm also teaching 1 introduction to literature class. So they're different approaches. But for both of them, I'm doing these very short, bite-sized mini lectures. So for example, in my literature class, I'll do a mini lecture on modernism, and then another lecture on, for example, T.S. Eliot's Wasteland, rather than having, a 20-minute lecture that they have to watch. So I try to make it more accessible, hopefully more interesting for the students.
So if it's not 20 minutes, how long is it? A mini lecture?
Yeah, so each mini lecture is 7 to 10 minutes.
That's mini.
It is mini, but you can get a lot of information in there. Yeah. So I just, I talk the whole time and I have a lot of visuals, and sometimes I might even use a prop or something like that. So hopefully I'm, engaging their interest. So both of them are, they're usually, studies say that students and people in general can usually consume and sort of pay attention for about 7 to 10 minutes at a time before things need to be changed up. So the idea is, and in some ways it replicates what I do in the classroom. I usually lecture for about maybe 10 to 15 minutes, a little bit longer. And then I have maybe some group work and then an activity and then perhaps in-class discussion or something like that. So I think it's important to replicate that kind of breaking up of the classroom session in the online forum as well.
Right. And are you feeling this is satisfying for you as a teacher?
It actually really is. Definitely a lot of trepidation in the beginning. And I think all of us teachers felt that in the beginning, especially those of us that have never taught online before. But I'm finding it to be really interesting. I'm learning a lot about this new methodology and about how to approach teaching online. So I think in the end, of course, I'm not getting that fun banter that you get in the classroom. And I'm not getting that fun, like in the immediate kind of interaction, of course. But I do find that in the end, I think all of us professors and teachers are going to have more skills in our toolbox, really. So I'm trying to consider it as an opportunity for all of us, students and professors alike. So it is satisfying. And I'm also finding that the students, and I didn't expect anything less really, but I'm also finding that the students at Endicott are bringing their all to the table. They really, I mean, it's been amazing that, you know, even if I just post like a discussion question about, I don't know, we were working on facial recognition technology in my composition class, and I had my students play with different kinds of camouflaging their faces in relationship to facial recognition, so that the idea being that surveillance wouldn't be able to track their faces, right? So I had them actually either paint their face or use some kind of editing software on their phone or an app on their phone to do that. And they all did it, and they did a beautiful job. Some of them actually physically painted their faces, and then they engaged in this really brilliant discussion about what it means to camouflage their face, why they might do that. So I'm finding that it's satisfying in that even the students who may be shy in the classroom, who may not want to, you know, always raise their hand or what have you, or may just feel uncomfortable or disengaged for whatever reason, even those students are really bringing their full intellectual selves to the table, which is extremely satisfying for me as a teacher. And I hope it is for them as students also.
Wonderful. That is really wonderful.
Yeah.
Your students' moods in general. Are you getting a sense from them when you're meeting with them that there's anxiety, that there's boredom, that there's uncertainty? What are you getting?
All of those things: anxiety, boredom, uncertainty. You know, we were tracking how they were feeling about this pandemic right before we, you know, had to go online. So I really would go the week before we went online. I would go into the classroom and be like, okay, how are you guys feeling? How are you doing? You know, and they, for the most part, were like, you know, it's all right. It's going to be fine, which was sort of a healthy mindset. But I've definitely noticed over the past few weeks the anxiety becoming more and more extreme. So I try to have check-ins. I do like a few Zoom, you know, office hours and things like that. And I also do in my mini lectures, I do post like just updates about, you know, just checking in about how they're feeling, letting them know that I'm there. Because I mean, one of the things about online teaching is it's so important to create a culture of care. That piece really matters, to make sure that you're not just a talking head, that you actually are there, you do care, and you want their well-being is, especially right now, the most important thing. So I think they really, my sense is they appreciate that kind of connection. And my sense is that, yes, they are definitely anxious, like the rest of us. I think we're all pretty anxious right now.
Yeah, no, for sure. But that's such an interesting point, that you feel as if you need to emphasize that there's a caring element to your teaching.
Absolutely.
And a connection. Yeah, because
Absolutely.
we're all starved for connections, I think.
Aren't we all? Yeah.
And these kids are 18, 19. Is that their age group?
Yeah. So in my composition class, they are all freshmen.
Mm-hmm.
So they are, yeah, 18, really 18, maybe 19. In my literature class, I do have some seniors. So the seniors are, of course, struggling with the fact that their senior year is completely truncated. They're not going to have, you know, a graduation in the traditional sense. So they're struggling in a different way, I think, than the freshmen are struggling. And they've been pretty transparent about it.
And are you connecting with other professors at Endicott or elsewhere?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I am. So I just actually had a workshop with other professors at Endicott. Endicott has been fabulous in how they've been supporting us throughout this process. For one, this started right before our spring break. So they gave us an extra week after spring break to prepare, which I know wasn't true with all universities across the country. So Endicott did give us that, which was really, really helpful. But they're also holding online or Zoom workshops for ways, you know, helping us kind of brainstorm about ways to approach teaching, in particular the composition class. So we're having really constructive conversations about that.
Well, it's so good to hear that not only is this working, but it might be thriving in some ways, the system.
I think it is. That's my sense. I mean, I've heard multiple things from the students. I did just take a survey about how they thought the class was going so far. Do they want more assignments, less assignments? Of course, they don't usually want more assignments, but I have heard kind of across the board that some students feel like they're doing more work online. Because, when you go to college, oftentimes you may have 1 or 2 days where you can just sit in the classroom and just kind of be, right? Sort of pick up on the information through osmosis. But in the online forums, professors often demand constant feedback or responses to discussion questions. So I found that students are struggling with that piece of it a little bit. But overall, I think that my sense is that I think it's working really well. I really do. And my hope is that in the future, there'll be more options and more opportunity for hybrid learning. I think it could work really beautifully for everybody to have, a class that's partially face-to-face, but also engages with online modalities.
Absolutely. No, I see that we are all learning that this is actually pretty facile and there might be some virtues to it.
I think so too. Absolutely. Yeah. I think we have to make sure that we remember we're all in this together, the students and the professors, and that, we're all there are going to be hiccups along the way for sure. But in the end, hopefully, if we remain positive and I think even experimental about the process, that it will end up being a really positive experience.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, thank you so much for sharing this with us.
Thank you for having me.
I've really been wondering how this is going on. So this is really valuable. And maybe we can connect again.
That would be great.
Find out how those kids did. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. Okay, take care. Bye.